This is the Meaning Business Podcast, your go-to source for business tips, advice, growth, and exit strategies, hosted by Coudrey and Peter Spinda. Each episode, we bring you real stories, expert insights, and practical advice to help you succeed in today's market. Let's dive in.
Hi there, and welcome to Meaning Business, the podcast for people looking to buy, sell, or grow a business, or manage, or get just basic ideas on a business. I'm Bruce Coudray, the co-host, and with me today is
Peter Spinda, the other co-host.
the other co-host. There's two co-hosts, no more co-hosts, just two. That's enough. If we had any more, we'd have a mutiny.
Wait until GPT joins us.
I'd get kicked out. Yeah, exactly. And today, what we want to talk about is performance improvement ideas. So just ideas. And what we thought we'd do is go up with some topics. And we just quickly go through ideas. Hopefully, we can come up with some on the spur of the moment.
Yep.
Ideas and how people can, in business, large or small, think about how we can improve our business performance. And because what we sometimes talk about is the fact that you need to challenge the current processes or way that you do things. And sometimes you need stimulation or someone else, an external party, to kind of prompt your thinking. So that's what we want to try and do today.
Absolutely. And I think this comes off the back of a couple of things. First of all, in the media, if you open up any of the newspapers, digital, news forums or platforms or whatever you want to call it, there is a bit of negativity out there. Just in the past week or so, there's been several articles that I've read that talks about how it's doom and gloom and electricity prices are going up and we've got wage increases and all that sort of stuff, and therefore everyone's going to be feeling it. So there's going to be some questions from business owners' perspective. Okay, well, if that's the case, that's your reality. How do I improve my performance? And I think the other part of it is that not everyone is in that boat as well. So there's plenty of businesses out there that are doing well, and those business owners are looking to improve even more so that they're more valuable businesses.
Exactly. So we just got some ideas.
Yep.
By the way, I saw a newspaper the other day. Have you seen one lately?
Newspaper, no. It's been a while.
I reckon it was 8 pages. It's nothing.
7 pages of ads and 1 page of content wanted.
And also just go to our website.
Yep.
Read it there. Anyway, so the areas we want to talk about today for performance improvement ideas are income, leftovers, marketing, costs, people, customers, forces of nature, technology, mindset, and partnering. So if we get through all that,
Big list.
we've done well. We'll be here for all day. Now, the idea is to try and get through that in about 30 to 35 minutes. So let's see how we go.
All right, start the timer.
Okay, so let's talk about performance improvement ideas for, we should spin the wheel, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we should.
So we start at the top, start with income?
Yeah, I'll start with income.
All right.
Yep.
Do you want to go first or will I?
What does income mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. You've hit it on the head. Because revenue is one way to measure income. And, at the end of the day, it's a funnel. More income should equal more profit, but it doesn't always. You can actually, if you were to, in many cases, you could sell less and make more money.
Absolutely. So it's actually about how you spend that money, how you, manage your expenses, how you manage your costs, how you manage the way that you deliver what you deliver in order to get to the bottom line. And ultimately, it's the cash in the bank that matters.
So the challenge here is for you and I to come up with some ideas on how you can improve income. So I'll go first or kick it off while you really did. How can you improve income? So you drop your price. That's an easy one. But that's not a good one because as we know, by reducing your price, you might sell more, but you might make less gross profit. So let's not do that one. So probably either marketing or acquiring another company could be a way to grow income. So people are very adverse to the idea, the concept of acquisition for growth. But usually acquisition for growth is the best way to go. We're looking at a business yesterday that prints a certain kind of card. I won't say what it is because it's such a unique thing. And the business only earns about $300,000 a year gross. It makes a profit of about $70,000 a year net. So what's that business worth? Probably not much. But for somebody who's in an aligned industry, for them to acquire that $300,000 worth of regular repeat revenue.
It's a value add.
Yeah. So that growth through acquisition can be a great way to grow your income. And in fact, for a promotional products company to buy that business and add the $300,000+ a year revenue to their top line, they'll have the cost of printing this material, but pretty much no other costs. It's going to add probably more than $200,000 a year to their bottom line, they can buy that business for $100,000. So they can buy for $100,000. They can buy a business that's going to give them $200,000 a year extra profit.
Makes sense. And I mean, we could have a whole session just talking about acquisitions and the benefits. I mean, one of the things in that situation is that your cost structure is changing. You could have a centralized cost structure. You're reducing your costs, and therefore, obviously, margins go up. But I guess more fundamentally, from an income point of view, income is actually influenced by pretty much everything that we've listed, everything that you listed in the beginning, because you can increase your costs, so increase your prices. So that's obviously going to increase your income. We can market, we can improve the customer experience, we can have the value adds, the add-ons, we can make do with leftovers, which we'll talk about, which will then boost your income. So I think the message around the income side of things for business owners is don't think about it as a single sort of pillar, as in that I sell pens, so therefore that's the only way that I'm making money.
Yeah.
Think of income as a much broader sort of topic, and try and challenge yourself to see, okay, well, how else can I generate money in my business? Not necessarily by selling more, but what else can I do?
Yeah. So before we move off income, Pete knows I've banged on about this a lot lately. People have forgotten the old upsell.
Yes.
So there's a business near me where I'm right now that it's part of a chain, and it's a corporate, and they have to run things the same way across every business, and it's in food. But the manager of this business does things a little differently. He doesn't break the rules. So what he does is you order on your table the QR code. He has waitresses and staff waiters going around, and when people, they see their drinks are down low, would you like another round of drinks? And they'll get them for them. And when they order their food, they bring it to the table. They see the drinks low, another round of drinks. And when they finish the food, they're upselling again, saying, would you like dessert? Well, their revenue, their income is 25% higher just through those upsells.
Yep.
And I've been there, and I know I'm sitting there, brain dead.
Yep.
And they come on and say, would you like something else? I'm like, oh yeah, actually I would. So that's a fundamental, simple thing that people have forgotten to do in business.
Absolutely. And that upsell can work in any business. So that was an example from hospitality. But I don't know, let's say you're in the trades business or you're installing something, you can be upselling a maintenance plan. You can be upselling, whatever other service that makes sense at that point in time. The point is to not limit yourself to just what you're doing in that moment. You've got to think about how do you diversify the income streams and make money elsewhere.
Exactly. And you do have to think about it. So if you're in the service industry, you might be a plumber, you say, hey, would you like me to do an order on your taps and drains, or make sure you've got no leaks, or your water consumption? Anything, hot water.
Absolutely. And going back to the hospitality side, we saw that when COVID hit and all the restaurants, everyone like that shut, the clever ones, what they did was they ended up starting meal prep businesses, and they're preparing meals in the kitchens and then selling it to customers in that way. And then they've maintained that, or other
dark kitchens.
Yeah, that's right. Or others might, if they've got a really fantastic sauce, they decide, okay, I'm going to bottle the sauce and I'm going to start selling the sauce initially in the restaurant. And we'll see how it goes. So different ways of looking at what you're currently doing, how to expand the income stream from it.
Exactly. All right, let's pick another one.
Let's go.
That was income. Can I pick technology next?
Yep.
Okay. So one of your favourite topics, Pete. We've only got about half an hour. We've already chewed up a fair bit of time, so can't spend.
I have a love-hate relationship with technology. It's anyway, we won't go into that topic, but from my point of view, technology can either make or break. So we've seen situations where technology just ruins everything because it's just too complex, done the wrong way. Quite often done because it's the fad, because everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
So first things first, if you're gonna be thinking about using tech in the business, make sure that it's done for the right reason. Make sure that there's a commercial benefit in terms of why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And don't go too deep into it initially. But technology is certainly one of those areas where if you could improve processes through technology, if you can generate efficiencies, all of a sudden you're not having to put it on an extra FTE, full-time employee, or you don't need a subcontractor or whatever it might be. Yeah, they're quick ways that you can win money in the business.
Yeah, so I was talking about an example this morning where a lawyer bought a wholesale business from a benchmark recently, and one of the things previous owners used to spend 6 hours a day on the phone ringing all the customers, getting the orders. Then they'd pack the orders and send them off, and get paid. So what he did was he gave all the customers an app, and everyone's got an app, and they order on the app. And the
That's
app
nice.
has little prompts, and the app also enables them to analyze the sales of each customer, the seasonality, and change their buying so they can buy, because they buy products from the markets. They can buy their products at more strategic times when the prices are down. They can sell them at a higher price. So they can manage their business much better. And plus, they're saving the 6 hours a day, 4 days a week, 24 hours on the phone, just taking the orders. That's gone.
Yep.
So there's an example of a piece of technology really enhancing the profitability and the performance of the business.
And I mean, we can, like you said, we can spend a whole day on technology. The main message there is don't fear it, embrace it, experiment with it, and see how it works for your business.
Should we go to one of yours, which is leftovers?
Yeah, I do like the concept of leftovers. So if you're ever come over to dinner at my place, I don't like recipes, so I just sort of open the cupboard, open the fridge, and go, okay, what have I got? What am I going to create? And by doing that, I've actually found that we're throwing out a lot less food as a household because I'm forcing myself to think creatively about the leftover that's there. And so every business, or most businesses, have leftovers. Whether you're in manufacturing, you're cutting, I don't know, aluminium bars, and there's that little leftover. Whether you own a restaurant and you've got leftover food, the question is, well, what do you do with that? So think about your leftovers and ask the question of how do we repurpose leftovers to generate extra value either to the customer or for it to become a new product that we can sell to the customers.
Yeah. We spoke about the cookie dough.
Yeah, the cookie dough latte, one of our previous episodes. I mean, that was a clever concept where they had leftover cookie dough. So what did? They made them into little cups and they filled them with coffee and they're selling them at a premium.
Yeah.
And it became a fad and made the news and all that sort of stuff. So it's really thinking innovatively about what you're doing internally and how you're using. And the leftovers, by the way, doesn't necessarily have to be a product. It could be that, I don't know, you own a manufacturing business and you've got a piece of equipment that's 60% utilized. Okay, there's 40% there. What are you going to do with it?
Exactly.
You could either ramp that up internally or you could go, okay, well, could we actually lease that time out to someone else that could benefit from it? Or you might have a factory with all this floor space that you're not using.
Great example. That's right.
What do with that? You can
sublease it or
that's it.
put something else in there. That's right. So, or time in a hair salon, you book out for the week, ahead, and you'll have holes in there. So if you can fill those times, that's leftovers.
Absolutely.
Then you're making more money. And I gave the example recently of somebody had regular customers who are booked in for regularly at their busiest times. So move those regular customers to the quiet times, and they're able to fill their week up fully.
Yep.
Because a hair salon, they sell time,
Yep.
just like a lawyer and accountant.
And it's especially valuable when you've already paid for that. So whether you've paid for the food, whether you're already paying for the premises, you're already paying for the electricity in the hair salon.
Yeah.
So then you can say to your customers, listen, Bruce, if you actually come in on Tuesday between 9 o'clock and 12 o'clock, we'll give you a 20% discount.
Yeah.
You can do that because, well, you're already paying for it.
Exactly.
And you can then fill it with new customers that are going to be higher value.
Exactly. So we're looking for the leftovers. I'm going to give a really weird example. A friend of mine owns a shop building in Sydney, and they have a retail store downstairs. And for only 180,000, probably costs more now, they built a whole upstairs. So there's an example of using, excess capacity to create something else. So
Leftovers done?
Leftovers is done. Okay, we're getting through the list. This is good. Do you want to pick another one?
Let's go people.
Okay, people's a good one.
People's an interesting one because ultimately every business relies on people. And in fact, it's the people that make or break the business. So in this situation, assess your people and ask the question of, are they the right people for the right role? Are they doing the right things at all times? And then beyond that, we've got to look at our people as the front of our business. It doesn't matter who they are, whether they're a receptionist, whether they're an electrician, whoever they are. Ultimately, they represent our business, our brand. And so the way they interact with the customers will actually dictate, first of all, whether the customer has a good experience with the brand or not, and second of all, whether they come back. And so if we empower our people, if we train our people, and our people know how to behave, how to communicate, how to best represent our brand, our business, then there's a much, much greater chance that you're going to get repeat customers and people are going to talk about you and rave about you in Google reviews.
Yeah.
And therefore, you're going to get more customers organically just because you've got some great staff.
Yeah. And so the two biggest expenses in most businesses are rent or wages. So you've got a transport company with a depot in Botany in Sydney, big depot. So your rent's a big expense and your wages are a big expense. So there's quite often the two things that can make the biggest difference if you can manage them properly. And but not only people are an expense, but they're an asset. And as we spoke about in one of our other podcasts about Who's the Boss, they can be the biggest asset and the most important thing, I believe. So it's hard to get it right. But another thing about people is sometimes you can have too many. Sometimes you can have more people employed than you really need, or you're not getting the efficiency out of the people that you have. So that's something we can look at to improve business performance.
Yeah, that's an interesting interesting topic, looking at having too many staff and okay, what do you do about that? How do you run whether it's a redundancy, moving into a new role, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and that's the fact. The fact is that sometimes we need to move people out of a business for various reasons.
Yeah.
And part of the reason could be, we spoke about technology before, it could actually be that technology has given you the efficiencies that means that, you know what, you've actually got one extra person now on the team.
Yeah.
How do you address that and what you do with it?
Yeah.
That's going to be critical. I mean, ultimately, the buck stops with you, number one. And point number two is you're running a business to be profitable. And so you've got to make sure that you're doing the best things by everybody in the business. And
there's another weird thing about people that I think we should consider, and this might apply to some people. Pardon me. So an electrical contracting company that I know of got to the point where they had more than 15 contractors employed. And it meant that they got to the point where payroll tax became something they had to pay, which is fine. And also it meant that they had to be unionized, and it meant that carried with it complications in terms of job sites and so on and other things, and leave pays days and stuff, and just made it another level of complication. And they realized that they were better running their business with less people, no payroll tax. They could be a more efficient team by having less people. They could sell their time more easily. They had less need for some person to be employed to replace the people who weren't employed, weren't available that day. So sometimes less is more when it comes to people.
I think that goes back to your personal plans as a business owner. You know, if depending on the situation, because I know people who would say to that, well, I want to be the biggest. I want to do this, that, and the other. That's perfectly fine.
Of course.
But in many instances, you may actually be better off bringing it back a little bit.
Small group.
Yep, absolutely. Offering better value and making more money.
Something to think about.
Yep.
Okay, so we've talked about income, leftovers, people, and technology. We've got a few more to go.
We do.
What do you want to pick
You
next?
choose. Go for it.
Okay, I'll pick marketing, because I've got to preface this. Most people in business think that the panacea to all problems is marketing. I just need to improve our marketing.
Yep. We got to sell more.
Yeah, but when you dig down, I'm sure you've seen this hundreds of times, Pete. I know I have. When you dig down, it's not the marketing, it's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes a cafe or restaurant or any sort of retail service-based business, the last thing I need is more customers, because they're not serving the ones that they've got properly.
Especially if, I'm ordering let's say I order my usual double shot espresso and you give me a long black, or you give me a double shot espresso that tastes just absolutely awful. I'm not going to come back, even if you spend all that money marketing.
That's
right. Marketing is good, but ultimately we've got to do the right sort of marketing, the right type of strategy and tactic for the right reasons. We'll go to the prime example. Everyone's jumping on the digital bandwagon. Digital this, digital that. That's all well and good, but you know what? Traditional still has massive place, like we spoke about earlier, about the radio advertising still works. Dropping in and seeing prospective customers still works. Face to face, sending letters, all of that still works. Except there's this fad, there's this belief that digital's replaced all of that. Digital's replaced all the traditional, but that's not correct.
Digital is a great enhancement to most businesses, but it definitely, if you've got your digital offer sorted and you don't forget the traditional, and you don't jump on all the fads and all those bandwagons, you can be better off. And my point with radio is that a couple of businesses I know are spending $10,000 a month on digital, and they're getting better results from $2,000 a month on radio. This is regional areas. And the cost per lead, or the cost per client, or the cost per buyer, or cost per sale through radio is way, 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 way lower. And
that highlights the importance of actually knowing your customer,
Yeah.
knowing who you're targeting, and knowing where they're consuming that information. Because, like you said, if you're targeting the regions, regional individuals typically will be tuning into the AM more than your capital city.
Yeah.
So there's all these different things that we need to understand, different
Yeah.
nuances.
Yeah.
And if you have a mismatch, you're going to communicate the wrong way via the wrong channels, and you're not going to make as many sales as you
No.
could.
And something I've noticed is that some digital marketing actually is geographically specific, and so it doesn't work as well as radio, which can cover, or other media, which can cover a wider area. So don't forget the traditional, I suppose, is one thing about marketing, but also look at your cost and measure your cost per client or cost per lead. And marketing is not the solution to all your problems.
Yep.
Quite often, get everything else right and then work on the marketing.
Absolutely.
All right, that's marketing.
Marketing. All right, let's go costs.
Okay.
This is again one that we see so often. You look at a P&L, a balance sheet, you look at the expenses, and you can pick holes through it as an advisor quite quickly. Quite often in the business, it's so easy to fall into the habit of just I'll sign up to this, I'll buy this, I'll buy that, without really giving it enough thought. And so from a cost point of view, what we want to do as business owners is not only give it enough thought, but we want to do it regularly. At least minimum once a month. You want to be looking through your bank statements. You want to be looking at where have you spent the money, and really challenging yourself to cut the things that really aren't necessary.
Exactly.
Especially if you're going through turbulent times, if you've got cash flow problems, you've got to be cutting back the unnecessary.
Exactly.
If you don't need a ChatGPT subscription, get rid of it, for example. And see if you can negotiate your prices. If you're a cafe and you're buying beans, maybe you have to go back. Maybe you've got to push back and try and renegotiate some prices if you can.
Yeah.
And where you can.
So, subscriptions, it's probably, it's $12, $15, $18, $20 a month.
But they add up.
Yeah. So many businesses you see, they've just got subscriptions to Adobe and other things, and it does add up, and they don't use it.
Yep.
But I think a good example of where you can save money with costs and why we should look at our costs is we're selling a business that settles in 2 weeks' time. And they've got a phone system there that the buyers have said, we don't need that. What do you need that for? It's got a $57,000 payout, and it's costing, I can't remember how much a month to lease this thing, which is unnecessary. You don't need it. So it's outdated. Everyone just uses mobile phones.
Yep.
And the same business, they've got some machinery there, which is being leased, which is, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars of machinery. It's outdated. You don't need it. Get rid of it.
Now, from a cost point of view, so we've got some of those costs, but what's really critical, especially in an industry where you're selling a product or you're using products like in hospitality or e-commerce, whatever it might be, is actually understanding or actually being aware of any price changes that haven't been communicated directly to you. Because sometimes you purchase something and it's gone up by 1%, 2%, 5%.
Yeah.
And if you're not aware that your costs are going up, if you're not adjusting then accordingly, if you need to adjust, then your margins are eroding over time. And after a year, 2 years, all of a sudden you're left with scratching your head wondering, why aren't I making money?
Yeah.
And it could be simply because you haven't factored in price increases based on the price increases that you've experienced from your suppliers.
So one last one on costs. It's a bit of an old one. When I started in service stations in 83, you get a delivery, could be fuel at service station, could be lollies, could have been cigarettes, and you pay for it and you get an invoice. And we never checked the invoices off. I was just a naive kid. So you get an invoice and then you get a statement at the end of the month and you pay the statement. So then finally I twigged, and probably Alex was the one who twigged. It's like, you should be checking statements, invoices against statements. So we start checking. Well, weirdly, nearly every invoice or statement that we got, we were overcharged. Never undercharged, never. Always overcharged. So Alex to this day has a business and he checks his invoices very, very carefully. And still to this day, what is it, many years later, 30, 40 years later, still weirdly overcharged, never undercharged. And we used to get cigarette guys that say, put these cigarettes on special and we'll rebate you with stock. In other words, it was Benson Hedges. So
They don't do it?
Never remembered to get the stock rebate. Never happened. So my point with costs is just check your invoices and make sure that you're being charged the right amount. And, you know, these days we have so many debits that come out, you know, electricity and so on. Just make sure you're getting paid the right amount. Saving can be significant. Last thing, a good trick. Some companies either deliberately or inadvertently, you'll have a 12-month subscription or a 12-month period that you pay for. So you pay, and then in 12 months' time, they'll bill you again and so on. So I noticed with one company that's interstate from where we are, they invoice us every year. And I said, I thought we just paid that. And we hadn't. It had been 11 months ago. And what happens is, rather than invoicing you every 12 months, it's been shortened and it's every 11 months you get invoiced. So you don't actually get 12 months. So it's a good way for them to get more money.
Little tricks.
Yeah,
Yep.
little tricks. Yeah.
Yep.
That's how, I think we've covered costs.
I think costs are good.
Costs are a great way
Yep.
to save money and make extra profit. We've only got a couple left, Pete. We're nearly
Okay, let's go customers.
Okay. Go.
What have you got there? What have you got?
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've got social responsibility, which is something that we were sort of thinking about before. But without customers, there is no business. I think we make the mistake of, well, I've got friends and people like clients who complain about customers all the time. Oh, they're this, they're that, they're terrible. If it wasn't for customers, you know. And that's the reason they're getting out of business, because they hate the customers. But I don't think we value in Australia, I don't think we value customers enough. I think we really need to think to ourselves, how much is a customer worth? How much have we spent to get that customer? We really need to hang on to that customer. Look at what we offer through the customer's eyes and see how we can make it better and what else we can offer. And this is where upsell and other offers come from. So that guy at this local business here who comes around and upsells us, I don't think he's trying to screw me over. I think, fantastic, thanks, mate. You're great. Comes around and offers a dessert. Yeah, great idea. Let's do the share one, you know.
It's a win-win approach.
Yeah, it's great business.
Yeah, giving extra value back. So the numbers are something like it takes 5 times more to get a new customer as opposed to keeping a customer. So that's one.
Why wouldn't you?
Amazing metric. And the second thing is that once you've got a customer, like you said, the upsell, more likely to, accept that, would you like fries with that situation?
Yeah.
But the second thing is that once you've got a new product or service or whatever it might be, it's actually easier and cheaper to resell back to your existing client base as opposed to going out and then trying to find more customers. We're not saying don't find new customers, but what we're saying is quite often there's money left on the table. Your existing customers are willing to spend more.
Yeah.
You just have to mine it just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Look after them.
And one other thing about customers, this is a performance thing, how you can improve your business. I saw recently a business analyze their customer demographic from their SEO and their digital marketing. And what they noticed was that they had no buyers coming to them, no one buying anything that was under 35. All the customers are over there. Now that's impossible. How could they not have customers under 35? So they started thinking, well, how can we market to 35-year-olds? And it was things like TikTok.
Yep.
They opened up a whole new world of customers to their business that they didn't think they were missing in the first place. So doing the analysis on who your customers are, not only figuring out what they want and need and how to service them better, but also looking at who your customers are and for saying, why aren't they coming
Why aren't they? Yeah.
This can be a good thing.
Absolutely.
All right. 3 more.
I can't read the
Partnering.
There we go.
Can't read my right the right way up either. Partnering, that's yours.
Partnering. So this is about looking at business slightly a different lens rather than competition, looking at co-opetition where you're cooperating with another business where you're not.
You're loving this at the moment, aren't you?
I love it because it works really well. And when we see it practically play out all over the place.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. You see it with farmers. A lot of farmers help each other out.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about farmers, so for example, it could be sharing of equipment, for example. It could be, you have one producer producing one type of, let's say it's a cattle producer, and then you've got someone in more agriculture where it's crops. Then they partner up and join forces in moving forward in whatever way that they decide to.
Or one farmer could be taking cattle to the market and he says, hey, Pete, I've got half a truck here. Do you want me to chuck some of yours on there?
Absolutely. So it's about looking at how you can work with others as opposed to always competing.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely powerful. One, it gives you leverage. So like you said, with that truck, half empty, so you might as well put some more livestock on it. The second thing is that it actually gives you leverage because you could potentially leverage their customer base as well. So
Mm.
if your partner's got customers that could potentially be your customers, well, partnership could actually make sense, and it's easier and quicker to target those customers.
And a weird example of partnering is a company I heard about in Victoria, uses Australia Post a lot.
Mhm.
And they spend a lot of money with them. And they said, just maybe we can get a better deal if we use DHL or a courier, more efficient. So I went to Australia Post and said, look, we're weighing up our options. And Australia Post said, let's partner with you. Let's make this work. We can come up with better ways.
Yep.
And they have saved significant amount of money and improved their delivery and opened up a new market, because Australia Post was able to say to them, why don't you deliver here? Why can't we help with that?
The other thing that I mentioned around the partnership is that sometimes you can do resource sharing as well, particularly people resources. So I know Dad, many years ago when he was in the horticulture side of things, on the large property that he had, the farm, there were two other businesses, and they all partnered together. And so Dad would shuffle his employees around. And so when he had a quieter period, those employees would actually move and work on the other farms and do other things, and then he'd get them back when he needed them. So then obviously what happened was they covered those costs in those periods, but he still maintained or retained those employees. So you're not losing talent.
Yeah.
You're sharing the resources across your partners.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So it worked out really effectively for him.
Yeah. Yeah, so being open to partnering, open-minded, is a good one.
Absolutely.
2 more left.
Force of nature.
Yeah, probably not so obvious, these 2. So we're talking about how to improve the performance of your business. And what I've called forces of nature is things like interest rates or tariffs or changes in government or...
Actual nature.
Yes.
Storms.
Things you can't control.
Yes. External things.
Yes. So trade winds, tide's going to go in, tide's going to go out, sun's going to go up, sun's going to come down. Seasons, somewhere in spring, autumn, it's just normal that things go backwards and forwards. The pendulum in politics swings left and right.
Absolutely. And we're seeing that play out literally right now at the moment, where, we're, as we're recording this, we're mid-June, we're about to hit 1st of July. Some new laws are coming in, new changes in terms of wage increases, and there's all sorts of other things happening.
Yep.
Healthcare prices, electricity prices, cost of goods, everything's going up. So that's that sort of force of nature, the things that we can't control. So how do we address this?
Yeah, so this topic today is performance improvement. So how can you use the forces of nature to improve your performance? And I don't really have an answer, but I do say this. We know for sure that if interest rates are low, they're going to go up. And if interest rates are high, they're going to come down eventually. So things are always going to move around. It's not going to stay the same. So be ready. I guess that's the performance improvement. So what does being ready mean? It means either having not too much debt or a little bit of cash or some resilience. And resilience comes from confidence, and confidence comes from knowing what you're doing. Knowing what you're doing comes from having a business plan and cash flow forecast. So it might not be performance improvement necessarily, it might be performance protection. But just knowing that things are going to change and they're going to get better and they're going to get worse, and being ready for that is probably my takeaway.
Absolutely. I think from my point of view, it actually comes back to one word, and that's awareness. So given the situation, you've got to maybe pause for a couple of days and just spend some time making yourself aware of what's happening, what's potentially going to come your way from your business perspective. Do some risk mapping and go, okay, here are the things that are happening at the moment. Let's say minimum wage rates are rising in a couple of weeks. What does that mean for me? Apply it to your cash flow forecast as it sits at the moment and see what are the implications. And ask that question of, okay, these things that we spoke about so far, so things like cost control, customer, et cetera, how can you apply those concepts into your business and other concepts in order to sharpen the pencil, in order to turn the negative into a positive? Because the positive side of it is it makes you more effective. And so when the tide turns and interest rates go down and there's more cash out there, all of a sudden you're going to be poised and ready to be more attractive to more customers.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, when wages go up, superannuation goes up, work cover goes up. So quite a few things go up.
Quite a few things,
It's
exactly.
a bit of a knock on. But forces of nature, things that we can't control, it's going to happen, be ready for it. So lastly is mindset. And I guess I'll just start by saying that's what force of nature is really. The answer to way to combat that or manage that or take advantage is to have the mindset, the right mindset. Mindset is such an important thing, right?
It is 100%. And the thing with the mindset, especially in business, is that it goes back to the confidence. And how do you get the confidence? Well, if you chart yourself a course, if you know where you want to go, if you've got a strategy of, okay, I'm going to achieve, this is what I want to achieve over the next 5 years. If you've got a plan around that strategy, and then if you actually got a way of implementing it, if you've got a calendar of things that you've got to do, and you're actually moving forward each day, that will build your confidence, because you're going to see the change, you're going to see the momentum, and that momentum drives the mindset. And with that sort of mindset, what happens is when you face a roadblock, you go, okay, instead of falling apart, you ask yourself a question of, all right, how do I bypass this roadblock to go back on that strategic direction? How do I go back in line with where I want to head, rather than falling apart? And use the negative as a positive, and use that to make more improvements in your business, and do things differently, do things in a better way, whatever it might be.
So we're talking about performance improvement and how your mindset can improve your performance. So if your mindset includes these things, I think your performance will improve. So number one, the business is not about you. So you don't make it about you. You have no ego.
Yep.
You don't make it personal, no emotion. You keep it logical. Number two, you set out with the what can go right mentality. So that's where the cash flow thing goes. You know your numbers, you know what you're doing, and you say, if I do this, these should be the results.
Yep.
So what can go right? How can I make this fantastic? How can I make $20 million a year in income? How can I do that? And if you have the formula and you make it happen, then, you know.
Then you should.
That comes down to mindset. And your mindset should also be about, you know, in business you can be growing, stagnating and dying. Well, you don't want to stagnate or die, you want to grow. So how am I going to grow? So you have a growth mindset. And I think I've observed, I know that if you have a mentality of focus, energy and belief, which comes from having the plans in place, that's your mindset, you will grow and you'll be successful.
100%. Probably the other thing I'd add to it is a word that we use regularly is experimentation. So being willing to experiment and fail and make mistakes, and learning from those mistakes, and whatever it might be. And the other thing is the ego part's really, really important. Letting go of ego and empowering your team so that they're on the journey with you.
Yeah.
Because everyone's experience is different. And so you'll find that, let's say you own a cafe, if all you're doing is managing from a distance and not getting feedback from your customers, you won't know that maybe your baristas notice something, or maybe the waitresses notice something, patterns are changing, or whatever it might be, and you're not hearing from them. They're not coming back to you and saying, hey, Bruce, hey, listen, we've picked up over the past month this, and this happening. What if I know maybe in the past month, there's been 100 customers that have asked for a particular product. Why don't we stock it and see what we can do with that?
Yeah.
If you don't empower your staff
Open-minded.
and you don't have that sort of open-mindedness,
Yeah.
you're going to miss opportunities.
That's right. So one of the kisses of death in business is that's the way we've always done it.
That's right.
So we're going to do it that way. It's bad thinking.
Yeah.
So we have covered today income, leftovers, marketing, costs, people, customers, force of nature, technology, mindset, and partnering. So if you can't get something out of that today, better try harder.
And last thing that I wanted to add to all of this is don't overthink it. Don't go overboard. Start small. Start with little changes. Do something every single day.
Incremental.
Every single week. Do incremental. Look at your numbers. And you'll find that if you do something every single day, something will actually happen, as opposed to not doing anything, in which case, well, nothing will happen, or you're going to go backwards and you get stagnated in time.
Yeah. You've got to be growing.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening today. And thank you, Peter.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Bruce.
Cheers.